right. Annie, Lalla, welcome back.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you again.
Mhm.
This is your second time on the show.
It is.
Yeah, I'm
Great.
psyched. Yeah, thanks for coming back. I really love hanging out with you and talking to you about relationship because we're both pretty geeked out on that conversation.
Mhm.
And there's much to discuss here. And beforehand, we thought it would be interesting to zero in on the conversation around family dynamics historically and how they play out in a long-term relationship.
Yeah,
And also how we can use both to grow and heal and awaken and get stronger. So are you up for that?
totally.
All right,
My
cool.
favorite subject.
So remind the listener just a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you're up to in the world, what's alive for you right now.
Yeah. So my name's Annie Lalla. I am a relationship coach, but more particularly a love coach. I kind of refer to myself as a cartographer of love. So the landscape between two people when they're in a love relationship is quite tricky and fascinating terrain. And I like to map it out using my own relationship as a laboratory. And anything I figured out with my partner, we've been in love for over 7 years now. And we got together quite late. I was 38 and he was 42. So we had decided we were never going to settle, and thank goodness, because we didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've, we basically together map out the landscapes of the complex landscapes of interpersonal dynamics and relationships and emotions. And just come to realize that most of the work isn't between you and the other person. It's actually all over here before you even open your mouth is where all the work happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I specialize in conflict resolution. I find that the most interesting place to do personal development work because that's your access to your own shadow and whatever's not working, and no better mirror you have in your life than your romantic partner to unwittingly and explicitly highlight both the glory and the magnificence of who you are and the darkest, most shameful parts of yourself that we're uncomfortable admitting to. And if you have the right partner, they can be a stand for your greatness in such a way that you're more inspired towards working through your stuff, because that's your way of being in intimate contact with them. I mean, that's why they reflect it, is they miss you. They're like, I can't find you right now. Where are you? The shadow's in the way. And so complaints are really, I see every complaint as like a bumbled, I love you. I see you bigger. I want to have contact with that version of you. That's magnificent.
Yeah. Thanks for that reframe. Something you're quite good at is conflict is really scary for a lot of people. And so seeing it that way is like, oh, sweet. You mean I can learn more about myself and get actually to the thing I want in my partner?
Yeah. I think of it as bodybuilding. It's the conflicts going on between the weight and your muscle. And through that conflict, as long as it's not too much weight and you don't traumatize or rip your muscle, you're actually building the muscle. And so conflict is like this, after you get kind of good at it, and that's what I like to teach, it becomes a gymnasium for you building your own emotional muscles. And it doesn't just impact in your relationship. You take those muscles into everywhere in your life, in your work, in your art, in your parenting, in your friendship, in your whole family system. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, totally. And conflict's such a superpower. Once you get that down, I mean, there's just, there's so much that can come from working through a challenge with another human being that on the other side is infinitely more cool. It's like, wow, we just did something magical there.
It's actually the fastest way to alchemize more intimacy than you've gotten in any other dance with your partner.
Yeah.
On the other side of it. If you don't give up midway, and you trust, you have faith that somewhere, I just trust, on the other side of this conversation, we're going to find each other in the dark room and touch. And that keeps us going through. And when I say going through, I mean not collapsing, fine, you're right, or stonewalling, or escalating the fight into an ego combat, but seeking to understand. I see all conflict actually as a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And the conflict process is, there's something you believe right now that's misunderstood, a misunderstanding about me. And that if we talk through this, we'll understand each other better. And usually the misunderstanding is always the same misunderstanding. I don't feel loved or respected or seen or understood right now. And the truth is our partner wants to, but your two sets of different paradigms and of reality are like they're the way Evan and I like to talk about it is there's a wave and a particle. It's usually the feminine is the wave and the masculine is the particle, and they're fighting over which is the fundamental nature of reality. But they're both. And it's like sometimes reality comes in waves, electric magnetic fields, and sometimes it's a photon or an atom. And to arm wrestle is like, I don't know, there's a way to dance instead of arm wrestle.
Yeah. So you guys have been together, what we were talking about?
I think between 7 and 8 years.
Okay. And you have a daughter?
We have a daughter. Her name's Love. My husband named her that.
Uh-huh.
He wanted to name her Love so that we could be in love forever. So cheesy.
Or cool.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
She's the biggest, most romantic collaborative project we've ever done together.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure she's a real gift. Okay, so with conflict, since we're here, I want to hang out here for a minute before we get into the family stuff, and it'll be a good transition. We're talking about the view, really context of conflict in a way. Mm-hmm. So give the listener a practical tool that they can use around conflict, because you're saying it's like, I'm with you in that if you can learn conflict, it's probably the best divorce prevention tool on the planet if you know how to deal with challenges interpersonally.
Mm-hmm. Divorce prevention and actually being fulfilled in your relationship and feeling like this is the most important thing I'm doing with my life, in addition to all the other things that I'm doing, which is, I like the positive motivation along with the negative. But in terms of a practical tool, let's see, one of the ones that is so subtle and simple, and everyone's heard it, but it really changed the game for me. When I started realizing that every single grumble, complaint, angry assertion that my husband was making had a commitment behind it. Mm-hmm. A commitment that if I dug far enough underneath it, sounded like, I know that you can do better than this. I know the version of you that's more lucid, more conscious, more intentional. And I'm talking to her right now. And I think I need to yell and scream and do grumbly things to get to her. But so it's my job. It's his job in his ongoing development to speak from a place of, I love you as you are now. And I know there's a deeper, more pristine version of consciousness underneath the behavior you're doing. Mm-hmm. So that's his work. But my work is to decode the complaint and the grumble and the frustration and the angry assertion as, oh, you are loving a part of me that I'm not present to. I don't know it exists yet. And you're standing for it. You're standing fiercely for it.
Okay, practical example.
So, okay. Let's see. Okay, with my daughter. So I'm natively the enabler. She cries, I want to comfort her. Something's wrong, like, Mama wants to rescue. And I think that's the maternal love energy.
Sure.
But I have an extra dose of it coming from my family. And so Eben, often when I'm pandering to my daughter's requests for soothing from me, can see clearly that I'm undermining her ability to develop the self-esteem of coping through her distress on her own, with her own nervous system, and without needing me. I need Mom to feel safe again. I think when they're 0 to 2 years, they really need regulation externally. But coming around 3 to 4 years, which is the age she's at now, I want her to be developing her own regulated nervous system, and he's standing for that. And so the conflict that'll happen is he'll basically frustratedly articulate, why are you pandering to this? You're feeding this behavior. You're giving her a way out of developing her own self-esteem at coping through her own distress. And in the moment, I feel like made wrong, and like I'm trying to do my best to be a good mom. But then I go, because I've done it enough times, I go and I decode, I go, oh, he's standing for my daughter, our daughter, being a 40-year-old woman in a relationship and knowing how to breathe through distress, work through upset, not escalate and take it out on her partner. He's trying to build a robust, resilient 40-year-old, 30-year-old, 20-year-old woman. I'm just trying to make sure my 3-year-old isn't sad right now because I'm distressed and I need to regulate my nervous system so that her distress isn't triggering me. Mm-hmm. He's standing for a development in her and in me and in the whole family system, but it can occur as a complaint or a criticism in the moment. And in fact, sometimes when he's not his resource, that's exactly what it sounds like. And I have to decode that as, oh, he's standing for an even greater version of my own mothering. He's standing for our daughter being not emotionally wussy, like emotionally resilient, and with the capabilities of breathing through and moving through her emotional cycles with dignity and finesse. And I love that commitment. So if I can decode his complaint in the moment, I can work with him and see the brilliance. There's a way in which I see reality and he sees reality differently.
Sure.
And when we both can collaborate on those visions, we get binocular vision instead of just.
Yeah. You can see even better, right?
Yeah. And a whole different kind of vision, a new dimension. Binocular vision is different than just two different eyes.
So decoding, okay, so essential point here for the listener is if you feel like your partner has got a complaint about you and it's coming out as a complaint.
A criticism. It's coming out as something bad and wrong with me now.
Totally. And so my job as the person being criticized is to decode that and go do my little homework. And do you have a little tool for that you recommend? Like how could one decode through a complaint?
So the first thing I do is I notice the part of me that feels made shamed, bad, and wrong.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be existing in the other person's speaking. Usually anger has shame and blame smuggled in. So my job is to notice that I'm feeling made small, contracted. I'm taking the information and going, I suck. But then I'm footnoting it to they're making me feel I suck. But really I had to take it and go, I suck. I had to have a place in me that already thinks I suck in some way or another. Otherwise the criticism wouldn't dock. So the first thing I have to do is create an empowering stance for myself before I can go decode anything. I have to go, I have to remind myself, I do this in like 5 seconds. Actually, I don't suck. I'm an extraordinary mother. I've been practicing motherhood for as long as I can remember, and there's a lot of intention, intelligence, and consciousness going into what I'm doing. And I can do better. So remember my magnificence. So I have to use my imagination to generate a narrative that has me feel proud and empowered about who I am as a woman, as a mother, as a person in this moment. And inside, on the platform of that empowered narrative, I remember, and I'm not perfect. I'm fallible, and I need and married and hired my husband to show me my blind spots.
Yeah, so you're holding both. You're holding both. Like you're holding your magnificence.
I first have to do
I have room to grow.
Yeah, but I first have to start with I'm empowered. Like I can't go to the how can I get better until I feel beautiful as is. So I have to basically generate a sense of present perfection and beauty and fallibility, but beauty in a wabi-sabi real-time kind of way. And how can I improve this game? If I was ever going to improve my mothering, how would I do that? Well, I'd probably listen to my husband who I hired to show me my blind spots around this. And let me listen to that for the gold nugget underneath the grumble, complaint, shame, blame. And I might then, from that place of empowerment, then I'm not shrinking and defensive and like, no, I'm good. I am doing my best. Then I'm like, he may not be present to my magnificence right now, but I am. And so from there, let me curiosity-driven fact find, like, what about what I'm doing right now, husband, feels suboptimal? How is it impeding our daughter's development? Let me ask about the commitment that he's standing for. And as soon as I turn into curiosity about what he's committed to, shame, blame, everything drops. And he has a partner now in my own development. And me doing that is the highest likelihood of him noticing how he was over blamey shamey in his articulation. Because he'll feel guilty about the fact that I'm actually very available right now to hear the feedback. So it's an interesting symmetry. As soon as I actually turn into curiosity about what his commitment is, he drops the shame, blame, and cleans it out more the next time.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Did you, because I can hear the listener here a little bit going, well, that sounds really hard if I feel bad about myself. So I'm guessing there was a time in your life where you couldn't do something like this, where you couldn't remember your magnificence, for example. Do you have a quick tip for a person to access that?
Yeah. So if we're going to break it down microscopically into the inner game microscope of what to do. Yeah. The first thing I do when I'm criticized by any human, if I'm on my game, is I do an intentional breathing, grounding exercise. Why? Because I'm in a triggered amygdala fight or flight nervous system response. Especially when my mate / parent / all of reality is telling me I suck in my mind. It feels like death is pushing up against me. Even though I know I'm not going to die, there's a part of our nervous system that goes, if I'm not loved, I'm going to. be kicked out of the tribe and starve to death. So ancient lineage shame response. So what I do is I know my nervous system needs to get back to this present moment in this grown-up woman, resourced grown-up body, instead of being triggered, i.e. regressed to a younger state where I didn't know how to deal with the intense emotion. The only way I know to do that I've ever heard that works is a somatic breathing practice. Everyone has different kinds. You could stretch, you could do Pilates, you could do yoga, you could just dance. I want to do a really quick one. The fastest one I know is 5 really deep breaths where the exhale is twice as long as the inhale. So I close my eyes, I do 5 deep breaths. Mm-hmm. And usually I can get myself from 7, 8, 9 out of 10 trigger down to at least a 5. And then I have my enough wits about me. I have access to my cortex now, and I can go. So once I regulate my nervous system with a breathing, a grounding, centering practice, then I use my imagination. Now, other people might have other ways they create an empowering stance for themselves. The way I do it is I go into my imagination and I imagine if someone was going to pay me $1 billion to articulate a thesis about why I'm an extraordinary human, woman, mother, and I had to write a compelling thesis, what the hell would I say? And then I do it. And I can come up with really great stuff when I basically put myself in a situation where I'm forced to come up with, well, first of all, I exist. I got to exist, which is like a miracle. And then I got to fall in love. And then my husband picked me. And then he picked me to have a daughter with him. And like, I live in this amazing life. And there's so many, you could kind of do a gratitude list. It might be a hack to get, what am I grateful for in this world that is reality / the universe saying yes to your existence. We support you. You're fed, you have a house. Like, you can get creative. You're in a hotel room. Someone made a sink in that bathroom for you to use so you could wash your hands. You can find yeses from the universe, like I love yous, anywhere. So I use my imagination and to generate a story, and everybody will have a different story that's more motivating, that has me go, it matters that I am here and I'm valuable and I'm doing my best. And I think back about my life and think of what I've gone through and what I've traversed and how many ways I've improved myself as a mother. And so whatever I can generate to make me feel, you know what, there is a way to improve, but I'm actually really great right now. And from that place, I'm welcoming feedback of how to improve. But if I'm feeling small, shrunken, and sucky, I don't want feedback on how to improve. That just makes me feel like more shit.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And so, okay. So just to get even more like minutia here, because this is great. I'm guessing it's gotta be a fact that I remember when I'm doing the visualization. I have to remember a factual experience of me either kicking ass or how I'm magnificent or something I did well, right? It's not like a fabricated thing.
Yes. And I actually do preemptive work for this, which I'll just put another hack in. So what I'm doing 24/7 in my life is I'm running through the world looking for moments of my own delight. Like, oh, I'm walking on the sidewalk and there's sparkles in the sidewalk. I love sparkles. I love sparkles in the sidewalk. And I notice a moment of delight, joy in the world, which makes me fall in love with my life. This is how I secretly make my clients fall in love with their life, i.e. raise their self-esteem, i.e. generate the attraction to a high caliber mate. This is the way you do it. This is one of the ways. And so I'm always creating raw material for when I'm in the triggered moment thinking I suck. I have put in a bank account all these moments of where I love the girl. I love the Annie that stops on the sidewalk at 12 at night and looks at the moon because it's so beautiful. I just love that girl.
Yeah.
So I notice in my life moments of my own intelligence, beauty, caring, tenderness. I'm tracking them and stocking them in a bank account for when I feel disempowered, small, whether someone's criticizing me or I just didn't get the job I wanted or get into the program I wanted. Whenever I feel small and contracted, I can go withdraw from my bank account of my own accumulated proof of my greatness.
Yeah, great.
On hand.
Yeah, and the brain is myelinating at the same time. So how the glial cells work is this is really crucial in terms of brain development. So we have to be able to remember times where we've done well because the brain's negativity bias will point us to what we suck at.
Exactly.
So I love this kind of hack and also just preemptively going around in your life, noticing the places where you're doing well or something that delights you or inspires you. This is awesome.
Exactly. And I want to bring it, since we're going to talk about family systems, I wanted to tie it over.
Okay.
So as you move through your life, what we're all trying to do is raise our consciousness around different domains. And, you and us are trying to help people raise consciousness around their own games they play in their head and their interpersonal strategies. one of the things I encourage my clients and people to track, along with moments of their own greatness, beauty, tenderness, truth, poignant, is moments where they're operating in the world in such a way that they're proud of, and tracking, which parent did I learn that from? So every time I talk to a stranger in the elevator, I'm an introvert, but I've developed my extroversion because my mom chats everyone up in the elevator. So when I'm chatting the person up in the elevator, not only am I present to the fact that I opened a door to intimacy for 7 minutes up this elevator, which I like, and I'm clapping for myself, I'm also tracking and footnoting, my mom taught me this. She taught me to talk to people that I don't know and see what's possible. And so I'm footnoting my parents, not instead of how they fucked me up or what I hated about their parenting, because we already got all that.
That list is long for a lot of people. Yeah.
What I'm doing is affirmative action for the underrepresented aspects of our parents, i.e. where they inspired our own magnificent greatness, superpowers.
That we forgot about.
Yes, probably forgot about. And then when they interact with their parents, they're interacting with, here's where I didn't feel loved by you, instead of here's where you inspired me into superpowers that I now use to make a living.
Yeah.
And that make my life amazing. So reading, every time I buy a book in a bookstore, it's like, my dad inspired me. He told me books are sacred. My mom taught me to preemptively sense out what people might need emotionally and try and offer it to them. And I'm a coach now because of that. So footnoting your parents, literally I can feel like both my parents living on both my shoulders and like funneling into me to create me as the avatar of the family system, the leading edge of our family lineage. And they're funding me with the best they had in terms of intelligence and superpowers. And if people could footnote their parents with what they learned from them, that was amazing, privately first, and then one day at Thanksgiving, Mom, I always do this when I'm at work. I always take the new person and take them around the office, and I make sure they feel welcome and at home. And you taught me to do that. And I love that thing about me. I want you to know I wouldn't have it if it wasn't for you. Thank you. You start sprinkling that through your dynamic with your parents, where you're the leader of the intimacy of your parents' relationship with you. Because look at it. Whoever you are, if you're past 30 and your parents have done their job right, you are the cutting edge consciousness in the family. You're the most intelligent, most advanced. So if you want more connection with your parents, you're going to have to lead it. And at this point in our life, I really think a frame that's useful is to see your parents as younger than you, almost like a teenager looking for approval. And if you could give your parents authentic, not fake, real, genuine feedback and approval based on those footnotes of what you see in yourself from them.
Yeah, huge.
It changes the game.
Yeah.
We're all waiting for our parents to give us props. They've given us as much props as they know how. It's now time for us to honestly give them props where it's true so that they can feel, because here's what's going on. There's intergenerational envy going on between parents and children. It's taboo in our culture and no one talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a way in which our parents love and cringe when we supersede them financially, emotionally, status, live in a better house. They have to deal with something, and the way they deal with it unconsciously is to withhold appreciation, proudness, and approval on the things that you're most advanced on.
Yeah.
Because they feel it steals from them. So the hack I have for that is I go to my parents and when they see whatever advancement I have, status, finances, whatever, I footnote them so that they can feel that I'm a glove they're wearing in the world. I footnote, honestly, the greatness so that they can feel like, oh, I'm an extension of them. So that I bypass the intergenerational envy. Instead of going, I'm so great, and they have to go, well, we're not. And then they have to claw for it and go, well, I taught you how to do this and this. And they try to claw back esteem. Let them have it. You got loads. Footnote your parents in the areas that they are the most stingy with their admiration for you, and you'll watch the whole system change.
Totally. Okay. This is amazing. Let's come back to the conflict just to wrap that up, because this is a great tangent.
Okay.
No, it was
tell me.
super awesome.
I'm famous for tangent.
So the back to the conflict with your husband.
Yeah.
Right. You're preemptively working on your self-delight. You're footnoting your parents and how they contributed to your greatness. And then you're back in the conversation with your husband.
Yep.
And he's criticizing you. You're reminding yourself, okay, I'm magnificent. I'm fucking awesome. I do this well. I do that well. And so you can actually receive the criticism, right? Mm-hmm. And then?
Well, I receive the criticism as feedback for iterating at a higher level.
Okay. And then what next?
Okay. Then I get curious and start to take on his assertion as behind all the complaint, shame, blame, and make wrong, there's a nugget of gold, the access to which I will never, ever have access to, because nobody on this planet is going to have the wit, wherewithal, and verve to try and show me that. So it becomes a lotto ticket. It becomes like a needle I'm hunting for in a haystack. Instead of, no, avoid that thing you're trying to tell me because you've got too much shame, blame, and make wrong. I use a technology, which is self-empowerment, to not be bothered by their shame, blame, and make wrong, and get that that's his wounding, and his parents gave him feedback that way. That's why his bedside manner sucks. But the data behind the complaint, I need to get access to. So I start asking like an investigator, what is it? Why is that important? And because he's got a whole thing to teach me about reality that I don't see.
That you need, right? On your
that I need
journey.
For development, for wholeness, and for improving my mothering.
Yeah.
So then I go from repulsion to curious cherishing.
Yeah.
Please tell me more. And I have to keep this. And this.
I want that lotto ticket, damn it.
What?
I want that lotto ticket, damn it.
Yeah, I want the lotto ticket. And you don't just do the empowered thing once and then it's all roses. I have to keep self-empowering every 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Because another thing that triggers me. Why didn't you? And you should. And this is just like last week. And so then I have to run the self-empowerment thing again, probably 4 times through the process to keep getting back to baseline of I'm good, I'm okay, and I can do better.
Yeah.
So
you're really looking for the part of yourself that knows, the deeper part of you that knows you can do better. You want that information. And you're appreciative that he's bringing it to you, even though it might be a little sloppy. You've gotten to the place where you're like, okay, thanks. Like you're telling me. I don't
know if I get to appreciative. I get to something, if I'm really honest, okay, fucker. Let me hear this because I know it's going to help me, but I fucking hate that you know it and I don't.
Yeah.
But give it to me.
Yeah.
That's probably the best I get to.
Yeah.
Later on, I'm appreciative, but in the moment, the best I get to is, okay, fucker, I know you're right. Give it to me.
Got it. Yeah, because that's how it feels, right, in the moment.
Yeah, because I'm struggling with my own little girl who wants approval instead of disapproval. And over time, what I do later after I get the data and I'm grateful that I'm going to improve, then like a half an hour later, I'll be like, slink back and go, hey, I really appreciate this information, this feedback. I'm going to do this, this, and this to implement. And I would love it if, when you give me feedback, you could try saying it in this tone or scrape off the, and you always do this. And I give him feedback on the delivery as if I'm working on behalf of both of us for the new information to get into me.
Yeah, because you're advocating.
Ways you can do
I
it
want the information.
Yeah, I want it. And every time you use that phrase, I have another door that closes that I have to pry open. So could you just leave that tone out or that?
Yeah, and then he does the best he can because sometimes it's not, always the nevers are going to come out. And but you're giving him feedback now. And he's like, oh, okay, got it.
And because I just took his, he's now more receptive to the upgrade in delivery.
Yeah.
Men tend to be more data focused. You need to get the point. Women tend to be more energy and tone focused. And so we're cross-training each other on me. I'm like, I don't want to hear you if the tone's not right. Meanwhile, there's gold on the other side.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't care about the tone. I just want the data to be communicated. I'm like, look, children only hear tone, and she doesn't even understand English yet, so you better work on your tone. So we're training each other. I'm training myself to be less frustrated by his suboptimal tone, and he's training himself to be more tuned into the brilliance and the grace and the finesse of using tone as a lubricant for information to get across from one mind to another. Yeah,
nice. Wow. Okay, so this is a great kind of a deep descent into conflict. And the tremendous value of when we can see it like Annie's telling us to here and then work with it that way. So I'm loving the practical tips also. Let's tie it back to the family again.
Yeah.
Why does the family work and the things you were telling us about, appreciating our parents and the envy and stuff, why does that matter in the conflict conversation?
When I met my husband, I said to him, the most important role I have in your life, and I think for all mates, the most important role a wife has in her husband's life is to be a stand for him having a healthy, complete relationship with his parents. And he was like, that's so weird. What? Usually, the wife bitches about the mother-in-law. And I'm like, no, the extent to which you're not connected to your mother and connected and able to understand her fallible, imperfect love as love while holding sacred your anger and bitterness and resent for where you weren't loved the way you needed from her. Both are sacred. Your anger about it is valid. And she was doing the best she can. And in that order. So I had to really honor Eben's frustration with his suboptimal parents and then help him see how they were doing the best they can. That process was so important to me because when a young boy is born into the world, the first relationship he has is with the mother. And so that codes and imprints what his relationship is to life, to relationship at large, and to the feminine.
Yeah.
So any woman he interacts with, his grade 2 school teacher, the Starbucks barista, his third girlfriend,
the earth,
our daughter, they're all smeared with whatever was imprinted with his mother, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
So when I can work and do like 1 centimeter's therapeutic shift on his dynamic with his mom, I get miles of impact in how he relates to me as a woman, as a mother, and to our daughter, and to every woman. So
so you taking a stand for him cleaning up his relationship with his parents, you benefit tremendously from that.
Yes, and it's all I put my first year of dating with him. It's all I focused on.
Wow.
I didn't really work on our conflict directly. I did, but I knew if I could facilitate one healing conversation with his mom, that's 400 fights from us gone and dusted.
Yeah.
So in terms of efficiency and leverage, it's counterintuitive. It's like, well, what do they have to do with this? Well, I'm his new attachment figure. And so every issue he has with his mom is coming right into every fight
He's projecting onto you. Yep.
And I mean, we had this other hack that's totally wacky, but we both know this. We both know we're reacting to each other's parents when we're fighting on some level. And so there's times when he's like upset at me about, I don't know, changing my mind about something. And his mom was like super fickle and always changing her mind in a way that was very distressful and traumatic to him. And so he's super sensitive to it. And so when I say, yeah, well, I wanted to go to Chinese, but now I don't want Italian, it triggers a response that probably wouldn't get triggered in you.
Yeah.
Of his wound.
Uh-huh.
And so when he would get upset, I would just turn into his mom. We've agreed upon this ahead of time. I didn't just do it without asking. And I would say, son, I hear that you get frustrated when I change my mind erratically. And I want to let you know that I'm very conscious of it. And I'm trying to do it in a way that has least distress. I basically say what his mom would have said if she'd had my consciousness.
Yeah.
To upgrade the story about mom.
Yeah.
And it's so funny when you say son, after you get over that 5 microseconds of weird, this is weird, it works.
Sure.
Because the part of the brain that's reacting to me is the son.
Yeah. And you're essentially, we are in a parent-child relationship a lot with our partner. So
it's the attachment.
Yeah. You're working with the undeniable attachment connection, right?
Yeah. Whichever parent that you had the attachment as your attachment figure, that governs the shape of who you're going to fall in love with, their characteristics, their personality, everything. You literally fall in love with the smartest, most conscious, best looking version of the parent you had to earn love from.
Yeah.
That's what it,
yeah,
that's the blueprint.
Totally. That's the deal.
And then you hire them to read the script with you where they loved you in the way you didn't want, just like your parents. And that's what you hire them for. But hopefully at the end of this relationship, the end of this play, you will get them to love you the way you never got loved by that parent, and we will win the game. And so knowing that that's what's governing your choice of mate, and that's the script you're playing, can make you meta-conscious of that. That's what we're looking for. And, I actually got that with Eben.
Got the love you never had?
Yeah, I'm still working on it, but there's a way in which my mom was very good at loving physically, like cooking, cleaning, organizing, everything was sorted in the physical domain, but she didn't always know how to tune into the underbelly of my heartbreak and then hold me there. She doesn't have that skill.
Yeah.
And so I basically found the coolest, smartest, most intelligent version of that trait in Eben. And we both got meta to it and realized, oh, Eben and my mom occupy the same lobe in my brain. When I get mad at Eben and my mom calls, I'm mad at her. And when I'm mad at her, it's like they're the same people as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And so what was I just talking about?
How you're trying to get what you didn't get from mom.
Yeah. So Eben and I have a conversation about how I didn't get emotionally nourished the way I needed from my mom, and that impacted me in good ways and bad ways, and that he's committed to learning whatever it takes to love me in that way, because that's his access to greatness. That's why he hired me, actually.
Yeah. If he can step into learning how to hold space and hold you in that spot that you didn't get held in, you both win. He develops into his capacity more in his heart and who he is. And then you develop because you got something you didn't get. And
Yeah.
it's something that can be met. It's a need that can be met.
Especially if you're both aware that that's the game you're playing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the need met that I didn't get from one of my parents through you, but you're going to act in the way that just my parents did forever because that's familiar, and whatever's familiar is coded as safe. So why didn't I attract the guy? I had lots of other guys who were super emotionally attuned to me. Why didn't I marry them? Because then I wasn't going to get this happy ending to the sad story that I ache for, which is what love is.
Yeah, and so many people bail, right, on this one. They've got the person, because we always really find the right partner.
Yeah. And
they don't stick with it because they don't know how, they don't have the tools, they don't have this kind of view that you're talking about here. And so what can a person do that's, I mean, in this moment, you're bringing so much value here. Just to slow it down a notch for a person who's like, yeah, but my partner won't do that for me. What do you say to them?
Well, the first thing I'd say is they're either the one or they're practice for the one. So you want to bring your A game. You want to always be, if you're going to try it for the Olympics, you want to bring to your audition or to your rehearsal your best game. You don't save it up for the Olympics day. So every woman, every man you're dating you could almost see them as an avatar sent from your future mate to get you practiced up for exactly what you're going to need. So use them as practice. And any person that's in a relationship and they're not broken up yet, I actually think the relationship is a sacred vehicle for you to get some education or some nutrition or nutrient that you haven't got, some developmental learning.
It's training.
You won't break up until you get it. So if you're still in it and you're not ready to leave it, roll your sleeves up and see what there is to learn. What part of the dance could you upgrade in yourself? You're using them as a gymnasium. This isn't, I always do that, so why don't they do it this time? You don't say to the machine, I always have to lift you at the gym. Why don't you lift me sometimes? You go to the gym to build your muscle. So it's kind of like, they're not learning? Well, I'm going to use this to build myself.
I'm still going to lift my weights.
Yeah, I'm going to lift my weights. I'm using you to lift my weights. And there's no excuse to not take the learning. You said before people give up too easily. I agree and I disagree. This is where I am kind of woo-woo. I actually believe that when you're in love, when you found the cosmic match partner, the one who holds the most direct transformative access to your own development and actualization, when you meet that person, you will want to leave. I have wanted to leave, let me tell you. And you won't be able to. Because where are you going to go? You know that your access to the thing you want the most, development-wise, personal growth-wise, lies with this person. And so that's why I really stand for this idea of true love, which I kind of define as the one who you're unwilling to leave and you're forced to do the work, all the inner game work to make the relationship succeed. True love is the only force strong enough to keep you in the game when everything else wants you to jet. And if you do jet, this is where I move. I don't think it's true love because you won't be able to. You may try, you may want to, you may get there for a couple days, but you won't actually be able to. I think true love is so strong, not even your resistance to your shadow can get in the way of it.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to run away from my wife twice, and here I am.
Yeah, and it's not that she got you back. It's some knowing girl who looks good on your arm. But if you're up to the game of development and using love to transcend to the next level of your own consciousness, which is, I don't even understand why else you would be in love. I guess some people do it.
Well, they're doing it because they want to feel good. They have a fantasy.
Yeah, love. I cannot recommend love if you want to feel good. If you want to feel alive, the most alive you've ever felt.
Yeah, now we're talking.
You're going to get good. You're going to get good and you're going to get darkness. That's why I say love is the white light of human emotion. It has every color in it. Every hate is a part of love. It's not the opposite. If you're not feeling resent, anger, hate at times, and again, you're not hating them. You're hating the fact that they're standing for you to grow past your shadow, and I hate that work. Not them you hate.
Nice.
You hate the fact that you got to roll up your sleeves where no one else has asked you to roll up your sleeves and you thought you could get away with it in this lifetime.
Okay. So Annie, we've been talking about conflict and then also how working with our own family of origin, the stuff we have with our parents can help and benefit our current partnership. And then we were talking about sort of true love and finding the one, and how they're ultimately the person that it's going to be hard to leave, because we're both taking a stand for doing this healing work and moving towards wholeness. What else can you recommend to the listener here that they might be like really inspired right now to tackle something here? Perhaps another suggestion around the dance they do with their partner as it pertains to their family, or vice versa, the dance they do with their parents that could impact their relationship.
Well, I'd say the extent to which you are connected to your pain, disappointment, upset, resentment, bitterness, anger towards your parents, and honoring of that and how it was justified that you have frustration around that. And if you don't have any, I would invite you to look a little deeper. The perfect life. Oh, I just love my parents. That was me up until I was 40.
Yeah, it was me till I was 29. Yep.
I was literally like, no, me and my parents are great. It wasn't until I really had a child that I was like, the shit got hectic. And I was like, oh, I have resent here, and it was deeply buried. But so the extent to which you honor your anger and frustration towards your parents, and if you don't have any, go look for it and find it and then honor it as the rightful response of a child to a need not being met. And then the extent to which you can do that, and then hold your parents as causal, but not culpable. My mom did cause X, Y, Z. And I do have this heartbreak impact because of it. And funny that my greatest superpower, the thing I get paid the most for in the world, was developed on the back of that heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
You start to see that all the wounds that are horrifying, that you can't believe were perpetrated on you, are actually the founding principle for the things you are most proud of in yourself. When you start to get that, it shifts from, yeah, I'm still angry about that, and now I can see that I don't know if I'd want to change it. There's a way in which you kind of have gratitude for your parents' fumble, bumbled mistakes.
Absolutely, yeah.
You got to grow in a way that you wouldn't have had to grow otherwise.
Yeah.
And you wish it would have been less traumatic, but maybe that was the fastest way reality, the universe, God could have given you your superpowers. Is you're going to be born to this parents with this kind of crazy and grow up with this heartbreak, and then you're going to have this superpower. And if there was an easier way we could have got it to you, we would have.
Right. In our magical little world, yeah.
And so I just want to encourage people, any place that you have unspoken, incomplete stuff with your dynamic with your parents, do some work around it, get support. They may be alive or not. It's the parents in your head you have the problem with. So you can have conversations, letters that you write. And if you're in a relationship with someone, stand for your partner being more emotionally synchronized with their parents, so that they stand for their healing around their dynamic with their parents. Because all the stuff you're going to fight about in your relationship goes back to that. You don't want to be the spouse that's like, yeah, your mom sucks. She's a batshit crazy. Because it fragments us. Yeah. The last thing we want to hear from our mate is that when I'm bitching about my mom, Eben's job is not to bitch with me, is to go, yes, you're right, to be angry about that. And there's probably reasons why she did that. And hold me in my anger, make it right, and then support me in getting complete with my mom and whatever I need to. Yeah. So that's just high leverage work. The other thing I'd say is whatever love you didn't get from your parents, you are for sure going to steal from your children. This is a law of physics that I've just intergenerational dynamics. And the reason my mom died about 5 months ago of cancer, and I spent the last year and a half fastidiously working on any incomplete stuff. And she was right there with me, going to coaching sessions, having therapeutic dynamics where all my resent could get resolved. I could finally get the thing I wanted that I never got, I got before she passed. And I know that complete cycle means I'm not going to undermine the way I mother my daughter in ways that I don't track. It's all unconscious. So if you want to be a parent someday, whatever is not complete with your parents is going to haunt you in the way you parent your children.
Yeah.
So it's an act of love for the future generation. And the footnoting, you want like an easy, practical thing to do. Track what you do in your life that you like, that came from one of your parents, and as organically as you can, start articulating it to them.
Yeah.
Giving them authentic props for the genuine impact that they had that made you proud of yourself. This is deeply nourishing to the whole system.
Yeah. And in doing so, you're going to be able to genuinely appreciate your parents a little bit more, which then all of what Annie's saying here is going to benefit your relationship with your partner or future partner.
And lastly, remember every cell in your body, no matter how good or bad your parents are, every cell in your body has 2 little strips of DNA, one from mom and one from dad. And they're wrapped together forever, iterating at infinity every time you make new cells. And the extent to which you don't honor that they loved you and that they loved each other, at least in the moment where you were born, the extent to which you can hold that as true, the extent to which every cell in your body feels at peace and not wanting to pull apart and fragment it. And so it's deeply healing to get that you came from 2 people who loved each other, at least in one moment in time, and who love themselves enough to want to perpetuate themselves into the future through the child, and had enough self-esteem to want to do that, and that you're the product of their highest selves. Holding that really allows you to show up as the highest self for your partner and then for your children.
Yeah. Wow. Ridiculous value here, Annie. Thank you so much. And we've talked about maybe doing another slice here on the intergenerational piece and more of the family system work. So you up for that if we did that down the road?
Yeah, totally. I'd love to teach more about the intergenerational, the ways in which our parents unwittingly undermine our own esteem, because basically there's a rule called no child in this family is going to feel more joy, more happiness, more financial success than we did. There's like a way in which we stay in rapport with our parents.
Like a ceiling, yeah.
And knowing that and understanding it's part of the system, you can transcend that shackle gracefully.
Yeah, beautiful. Cool. Well, where do folks find out more about you and your amazing work?
Yeah, just check out my website. I have a lot of free content on there, videos and blogs and teleclasses. It's AnnieLalla.com, ANNIELALLA.com. If anyone's in a relationship and they want to know whether they're in love with their partner or their partner's in love with them, I have this great love test, 10 questions for men and 10 questions for women. And you ask these questions, it'll give you a good sense of whether you're actually in love or practicing.
Great training. Cool. Well, wonderful to see you again. Thanks so much for your heart and who you are and what you're doing.
Thanks, Jayson.
Yeah.